Hello, hello. How's it going, you guys? I'm so excited to be here with you today because we are talking about how to become a powerful manifester. And hints, you already are one. You already are one, even if you don't realize it. And so, if we're just meeting for the first time, hello, my name is Jen Casey. I am a brain based business coach. I am the host of the CEO Psyche podcast, and I am a speaker in the online space. Hi, guys. So good to see you. If you're just jumping on, say hello, tell me where you're watching from. And I really work with my peeps to help them create breakthroughs in their business, brains, and bank accounts. Yes, it's so good to see you guys on. And so, today we're really talking about manifestation. I have been studying manifestation for many, many, many years, even before I really had a presence in the online world. I co facilitated a meetup group all about the law of attraction. And I was the youngest person there at the time by like 20 years. But I absolutely loved being able to have a community and a place that I could go every Wednesday night. We would go meet in the back of Panera. True story. And I absolutely loved having a space where I could go to have really deep conversations because I know, probably like many of you, I didn't really have people in my community who were able to match my excitement in all of the personal development things that I was learning. Let me know in the comments if that's something that you have ever struggled with. Oh, from Minnesota, from New York City. I'm in New York City too. Very beautiful day today. But yeah, I remember even early on in my entrepreneurial journey, I worked at a TGI Fridays. And while everybody else wanted to hang out and get food after a shift and talk about, oh my God, you guys, so crazy. We're so drunk last night, which, like, fine, that can be fun for like 1 or 2 days. But when you're doing that 5 days a week, every single day, it gets old really quick. And I so badly just wanted somebody to talk about manifestation with, to talk about online business with. And there was one guy who was probably the top server in the entire restaurant who made the most money. And he loved Napoleon Hill and had read a bunch of these money manifestation books, and he was applying it and he was having all these successes. And I remember I used to follow him around the restaurant like a lost little puppy. And he would say, Jen, I, I want to talk about this, but I got to go to my tables, because I was so deeply craving some kind of depth in conversation. I wanted to discuss ideas. And I know there are so many of you who tune into my podcast, who watch my live videos, who are in a similar boat. And I thought, why don't we talk about this? Why don't we have a conversation about manifestation and how you actually are already an expert manifester? And so when you hear the word manifestation, a good place to start is really asking yourself, how do you define that? How do you quantify that word for yourself? This is something that I've really sat with over the years, and there's many different definitions or different ways to take this big universal law, this concept that we all sort of understand on some level, whether conscious or subconscious, and put it into written language to articulate it in English. That is a very interesting challenge when we start to get into these bigger ideas, to actually narrow that down and to bring it forth simplistically so that everyone can understand. So, at one time, my definition of manifestation was when you have rehearsed something so clearly in your mind, you've seen it, you felt it, you've tasted it, and then it manifests physically. And I still like that definition, but it's limited, because there are many times where we create something, call something in, and we're like, I didn't want that. How did that get here? I didn't manifest that. And so now I really see manifestation. Okay, Kayla says I so resonate with this. Now my definition of manifestation is when something in your energetic frequency, in your energetic field, is matched and calls in something that energetically matches and brings that into your 3D reality. And I think this is a better definition. Nothing's perfect, but it's, for my soul, this is an improved definition, because it really speaks to that there are times that we're not consciously calling forth certain things, or we're in the process of trying to navigate how it comes in. And let's say we're saying, oh, I want $1 million. And then we have all of these things blow up in our faces in our business. We take a step back and go, hold on. No. I said $1 million. I didn't say we're going to burn everything to the ground and start over. But the universe is like, no. You said $1 million. I'm getting you there, path of least resistance. Burning everything down and starting over is the fastest way. And so that's why it's whatever we are calling in energetically, consciously, subconsciously, and is being manifested and brought into our 3D physical reality. So that is how I see it. And so some of the things that I was really thinking about with this conversation around manifestation, I've been talking to a lot of friends about this over the last couple of weeks. And something that I've noticed that people, or a couple of people have said, is that when they see other people, and let me know if you resonate with this, when they see other people, whether it be in the online space or in their life, talking about manifestation and saying things like, I'm so excited, I just manifested this car. But they went to the lot and bought it and purchased it. I've heard some people go, that's not manifestation, you bought it. And I thought this was really interesting, a really interesting distinction that we are sort of like playing with and creating here. And I think it really all comes back to the way in which we define manifestation. And it made me think about one of my dear friends, Lauren, and how we used to have different language and different understandings of the word breakthrough, and how that actually created a little friction for me, whether I communicated it to her at the time or not. She always would hop on a mastermind call with me and say, oh my God, I had the biggest breakthrough, the biggest breakthrough. Every day it was a breakthrough. And I was hearing that and internalizing it and going, what's wrong with me? Right? This is the story I was creating. What am I not doing good enough, fast enough? Why am I not having more breakthroughs? And as I really started to study and listen to what she was saying, I understood that her lexicon, her word for breakthrough was different than mine. I had a whole system of categorization that I wasn't consciously aware of, where it was like, I would have an aha, I would have an idea, I would have an understanding. And then breakthrough was something totally different. But for her, all of those things were breakthroughs. So if she had a new idea for a name of a program, breakthrough. If she had a new insight, breakthrough. And so I internalized that, thought I was doing something wrong. And it wasn't until I stopped judging what I was experiencing and feeling and the story that was being created from those feelings and those sensations. And I actually started to look at the language and understand how that might be different. And now that I've released the judgment around getting in my own way and not being able to celebrate with her and going, oh, I'm doing something wrong, I was able to then step back and say, I can celebrate everything that she's experiencing and celebrate everything that I'm experiencing. And one has no impact on the other. We can both have these big celebrations. We can call it whatever works for us. And who cares, right? But as long as we have this judgment, there's going to be some kind of resistance. And so coming back to this original concept here of someone says, oh, you bought that car, or you bought that jacket, or you purchased that yourself, therefore it's not a manifestation. I think it's really interesting. And we can begin to look at what are the rules and what is the criteria that you are placing on the word manifestation, just like I was on the word breakthrough, or the concept and the understanding of it. If you're saying something cannot be manifested unless it's just pops up in your life, is there something to the fact that you believe that a manifestation is only when you're surprised by something? Is it only a manifestation when fill in the blank? What has to happen in order for you to qualify it as a manifestation? And based on these rules and expectations that you have around a manifestation, what are some things that maybe you're not acknowledging? Are there some things that maybe you haven't been celebrating? What has to happen in order for you to allow yourself to be in the energy of celebration and acknowledgement of the frequency that you've been holding? So from there, once you begin to kind of journal and unpack that, you then get to ask yourself, is that definition working for me? Is that definition and my understanding and my relationship to my manifestations, is that bringing me into a higher frequency Or is that bringing me into a place of lack and resistance? And maybe it's not that black and white. Maybe there's just like some colors of like, there's like a touch of judgment or a touch of annoyance. And so again, you just get to ask yourself that question, is that something that is working for me? I was able to look at that definition of breakthrough. I still hold true to how I define that and how I have separate distinctions. And I also allow other people to have their own model of the world and their own lexicon and the words that resonate with them. So it's a yes and, right? So I would invite you to begin exploring that and looking at the things that you are calling into your life and the way in which you're categorizing them and the way in which you're maybe minimizing them or dismissing them or whatever it may be. In the world of the online space, and you guys can tell me in the comments if you resonate with this, I've had many clients, I work with a lot of 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs, and I've had many people who I've worked with have these incredible up levels, financially speaking, these massive launches, or they'll sign on a client and make $35,000. And all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm celebrating this. But what happens when we have a but? It just kind of crosses it out, right? They say, but that was a fluke. And that creates that energetic separation, right? And I love the questions that are coming through. We will definitely get to those at the end. So thank you so much for asking them. I promise we will circle back to those. And so you have to ask yourself, when you're seeing how these things are coming through, is there a separation? Now, this is something that showed up for me really early on in a big way. I had a lot of rules, speaking of rules, around how my manifestations should come through, how and when, and specifically what had to happen in order for me to be worthy of the manifestations. Drop a 1 in the chat if that resonates with you. So in the early days of my online business, I've been in business for 10 plus years. In the early days, I was affiliated with a network marketing company. And I felt this very clear, strong pull to go and do my own thing. And I knew what I wanted to do in a general sense, but I created a rule that I wasn't allowed to make that transition until I had this big financial success. That was the rule that I had created for myself. And unfortunately, that prevented me from trusting my intuition. And so I had myself in this holding pattern for many months where I was no longer in alignment with the business that I was building, knew that I wanted to leave, and was simultaneously telling myself that I wasn't allowed to leave yet because I hadn't made enough money to really feel complete with it and to validate the next thing that I was going to create. And I was really trying to control the how. I had a very clear intuitive download. And this is really interesting because when we start to try to micromanage how money comes in and we're not taking aligned action on the downloads that we're getting, on the intuitive nudges that we're getting, what happens? We start to feel in more resistance. And you've probably experienced this, where the clearer the message is and the more it's coming through, the more contrast you begin to feel, the longer you continue to stay out of alignment. Meaning, you get the download, you keep doing the thing you don't want to do, and you have the deeper you go into your spirituality, the deeper you go into your alignment, the more energetically challenging and the more contrast you'll experience when you're out of alignment. Yeah. Yes, exactly. I'm on live here on Instagram and on Facebook. So this really ties into this idea of the path of least resistance. So this is something that I learned many, many years ago through Abraham Hicks. Some of you might know Esther Hicks channels Abraham, and they've written many books. And I remember Abraham talking about the path of least resistance, the path of least resistance, path of least resistance. And recently I heard my dear friend Catherine speak to this. And one of the things that she said was a lot of people get hung up on, oh, these bad things are quote unquote bad things, however they're categorizing it, or things that I don't want to happen are happening. I don't understand this is supposed to be the path of least resistance. And she put it so beautifully. She said, the path of least resistance is not about your journey, it's for the universe. And I thought that was the perfect clarification. And on some level, that was always how I understood it, but I just loved how she beautifully clarified that. And that's what it's really about. You're going to have all of these different things, these roadblocks, whatever is coming up, and the universe is bringing you closer and closer and closer, even though you might not be understanding how it is all conspiring in not just in your favor, but in alignment with your energetic requests. Because in every single moment, you are making an energetic request. You are putting forth an energy that is magnetizing itself and reflecting back. And so when we are in those moments where we are not in alignment with our highest desires, when we are not living in alignment with our highest vibration, with the messages that we're getting, it creates that resistance. And I think this ties beautifully into this idea of intuition versus fear. Now, a lot of people go, how do you know the difference? How do you know when that voice in your head is fear? How do you know when it's warning you, when it's your intuition warning you about something? How do you know? And here's how I understand it. So around that same time when I was transitioning out of network marketing, this is like almost 10 years, or so it was 2014, 2016-ish time. I remember getting on a group coaching call and finally getting my question through to speak to the coach that I had hired. It was actually Jen Sincero, who wrote You Are a Badass. And I really looked up to her and I thought she's gonna be able to tell me what to do. And so I get on the call with her. She says, all right, what's your question? And I say, well, I have this business. I don't feel aligned with it anymore. Should I leave or should I stay? And I think I was looking at the time for someone to validate me or give me permission to do what I really wanted to do and to say, it's going to be hard, but you're going to be able to do it. And it's okay to burn it all to the ground. And you know how to rebuild. Like, I don't know what I was looking for, probably some version of that. And her response was, I can't make that decision for you, which was really a great response because thank goodness she didn't take on that responsibility, because there's no person in the world, no matter how studied they are, there's no one who has your answers. And in that moment, I was making a mistake that I think a lot of people in the online coaching world make. And it's that I was trying to outsource my connection to source. I was trying to outsource the decision to somebody who I thought knew better on some level of my consciousness, while simultaneously knowing on a deep level that I am the only person that could make that decision. But it was a decision that I felt uncomfortable making. And I'm so grateful that she passed that baton right back to me because in that moment, I realized there was literally no one who was going to give me that permission slip. There was literally no one who was going to make that decision for me. And I was able to take ownership of that decision, full ownership, and actually get uncomfortable. And learning to make uncomfortable decisions is one of the foundational things of life and certainly running a business. If you try to run away or bypass or hand off difficult decisions and you don't build that muscle of making uncomfortable decisions, you're going to be in a weird spot. You're just going to have to continuously learn that, right? If that muscle, that decision-making muscle is atrophied, there's going to be a point in time where it catches up to you and you're going to have to make a decision. So you might as well learn now. You might as well begin learning how to tap into your intuition. You might as well learn how to begin discerning the voices in your head that one is telling you this is going to fail and you're going to suck and blah, 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 blah. And the voice that is telling you it's possible. Now, certainly there are times where my voice of intuition, my guides, my higher self, they're telling me, no, this is not the right thing for you to do. However, When it is the voice of fear, what I have noticed is energetically, I feel a weightedness, and there are certain sensations that I experience. When it is my intuition, I experience heat in the palms of my hands, right in here, and I do a lot of energy healing and clearing. And so my hands get very activated. I notice that I will get full body chills. And I have a couple of other things. My breath will change. And then when it is the voice of fear, it feels, and I didn't always have this distinction, but now I recognize that it feels other. And I will ask that voice like who it is. And sometimes it's spirits that are just like being little sketchers and bopping around and trying to siphon off of my energy. And I will send them to the light. I will get them out of here because that's not what we're about. But I send them to light with love and allow them to integrate and clear. But it's really important to be able to understand the different voices that are coming through, when it's your intuition, when it's your guides, when it's a random sketcher spirit that needs help. And you can ask it like, do you need help? The voice that's saying this to me, like, why are you saying this? Why are you saying this to me? I am constantly auditing and challenging the voices that I hear in my head. And sometimes it is fear. Sometimes it is me just like, oh, this really scares me. I'm really afraid of this. Okay, I'm feeling this way. And I just honor myself for feeling that way. It's actually so many people are trying to move away from the emotional body, the emotional experience, because we're in this like hyper masculine world where, especially in the business world, like, oh, feelings are bad. Like, make emotionless decisions. I understand why people have come to that as a way of coping. However, it is the most ridiculous thing because you are not in control of your reptilian brain. You are not in control of the parts of your brain that, are emotional, and you're not in control of your amygdala, the fear center of your brain that fires off when you feel fear. And if you have trauma, like that shit's going to be going off, and there's not a whole lot that you can do about it in the moment. There's healing practices that we can do to create more energy management and emotional management and alignment and all of those things. However, to just say like at any given moment that you could just turn it on and off is just kind of cray, kind of ridiculous. But yeah, so those are some things that I want to talk about. I did see a couple of questions come through, so I'm gonna scroll back here on the gram. Hang on, I am. All right, let us see. Oh my gosh. Okay. Cosmic Magic Host said, I feel that I started in business as a bookkeeper, then finally transitioned into my heart calling Reiki. Yes. Yes, girl. Oh my God. Why is my Instagram freezing? Do you have a way? Hold on. Gaston said, do you have a way, ritual steps in order to tune into that frequency? So there's a lot of different things that you can do to tap into what you want to manifest. One of my favorite things to do is visualization. And so what I will do is I will close my eyes and I will begin by bringing myself into the frequency of what I'm trying to call in. So I did this a lot when I was wanting to speak on stages. I had already had experience as a performer for many years, and I wanted to begin speaking on entrepreneurial stages and teaching and sharing. And so what I would do is I would begin by tapping into gratitude. So you can close your eyes, take a nice deep breath, float down into your body, and think of a time where you felt totally grateful. And see that moment, see what you saw, hear what you heard, and feel those feelings of total and complete gratitude. And really breathe into that space and feel sort of that little arc, that height of the gratitude. And just as it's starting to peak, go ahead and think of another moment and go through that same process, and another moment. And bring yourself into that state of total gratitude or total excitement or whatever it is, that whatever emotional experience you're wanting to feel in your manifestation. And from there, you can begin visualizing the specifics of what it is that you are wanting to create. When I was wanting to speak on stages, I would imagine, so in the beginning, back in the days when I was an actor, when I would visualize going into auditions, I would try to like micromanage all of the choices that I would make and how I would sing a note. And in learning about manifestation, I really started to anchor into getting out of the how and actually focusing specifically, not specifically, on just the end result. What is the feeling that I want? And maybe what are some things that I'm going to do when it is a massive, wonderful success? And so I would visualize myself getting a standing ovation and taking a bow and coming off stage, calling my fiance, looking down at the really like 1980s patterned hotel rug on the floor and talking to my fiance and saying, I got a standing ovation. It went amazing. I'm so excited. It was incredible. And those were the things that I was visualizing. And I remember just standing there, taking that bow, like tears coming down my face as I visualized. And I would do this over and over and over again. And I remember in 2019, I got to speak at an incredible event, very, very well respected entrepreneurial event with 600 people. And I got to have that moment. And it was exactly the feeling of what I had rehearsed so many times. And what was especially interesting about that particular speaking gig was that in previous experiences on stage, because I've been on many stages in front of many different audiences over my lifetime, as I used to be a musical theater performer. And this was literally the first time where I felt a complete and total presence, a complete total sense of calm. And I felt so deeply connected to the audience, and they were with me and I was with them every single step that I took. We were in complete rapport and completely connected. And it was a beautiful, beautiful hour of my life. One of the highlights for sure. And I bring this up because it really came from that initial intention setting of exactly what I wanted to call in. And the reason that that is so important to begin doing for the things that you want to create is it allows, well, there's many things, but just a couple of things that I'll highlight is it allows your nervous system to regulate to whatever it is that you're envisioning. Whereas had I not done that, maybe for someone else, if they weren't doing that, walking out on stage, seeing 600 people, they might have a sudden feeling of, holy crap, what am I doing? That's a lot of people. But if you've rehearsed it a lot in your mind and you've rehearsed the best possible scenario, it's happened so many times in your mind that your brain literally believes that it's already done, that it's already happened. And this is not me just saying that. This has actually been studied that when they had somebody have something real and they did a brain scan and then they had them imagine the same thing, almost the same areas of the brain lit up. Of course, when they were doing it, there were more areas lighting up, but very, very similar areas of the brain were lit up. And so that is just our continued evidence of the power of visualization. And so there are many different things that I do in my practice and with my clients to support them in clearing different energy, anchoring into energy, opening up their vibration. I do a lot of energy healing and clearing work with my hands. And basically I'm able to like release and pull out lower frequencies. But those are just a couple of really easy things that you can do on your own if you're just getting started. And those were some of the things that I did when I was just beginning on my manifestation journey. Yeah. Any other questions, you guys? I know there was like a couple up here. Oh, hi, Georgie. So good to see you. Yeah, so we can definitely have deeper conversations about all of these things about manifestation. So if you're watching this and it's bringing up a question, maybe later today you think of a question, feel free to send me a DM and that might just be the next podcast topic or the next live video topic. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. If you are really into all things manifestation, maybe you're in a place where you're wanting to manifest some money, I have an incredible money manifestation hypnosis that you can grab for free, no charge to you. HeyJenCasey.com/money-hypnosis. Again, HeyJenCasey.com cant.com/money-hypnosis. And this hypnosis is one of my favorite ones that I've ever recorded. It's kind of crazy that it's just out there for free. But I really wanted people to get to experience what it is like to actually go through a hypnosis. And I've had so many wild stories from people after they've gone through this one and my other hypnosis recordings. I had a client recently who is a native Spanish speaker. She's like, it took me a while to like remember how to speak English again because she was just in such a deep trance. And, you know, there was so many things that were shifting subconsciously for her. And really that's the beauty of hypnosis, that for a lot of you guys who are maybe get when you're moving through different emotional things, there might be some resistance, there might be some second guessing, wanting to micromanage things, you have rules around stuff. Hypnosis is going to be your best friend. Hypnosis is going to be beautiful for you because what it does is it allows us to go into a trance state. So it's a different brainwave state. And from there, we are able to, through the words and through the energy that's being infused into the recording, or if you're doing it live, you're able to bypass what's called the critical faculty. And that is the area or the distinction between the conscious and the subconscious mind. And so when we're able to kind of rid ourselves of the critical faculty momentarily, bring ourselves into trance, and actually speak to the subconscious programming, it allows us to make very significant changes very quickly without the conscious mind rejecting. Because the conscious mind is the goal setter, but the subconscious mind is the goal getter. And so where you might be in a place where you're like, oh, I want to be a millionaire. Oh, but I'm not a millionaire yet, right? Like that's our conscious mind kind of deleting whatever intention we're setting. And so through hypnosis, we're able to allow ourselves to kind of surrender and open up a lot more so that we are more suggestible and can allow those new beliefs to be created through neuroplasticity. Our brain is able to make those new neural connections, and it is a really beautiful experience. So you can, if you're looking to create some more money and call in more abundance in your life, you go to HeyJenCasey.com/money-hypnosis and grab your copy of the audio now. So thank you guys so much for being here with me today. I appreciate you. It was so fun hanging out and getting to chat, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.